Welcome to our new mini series of reaction reviews
Oh,
weekly to the new Amazon Prime original show, American Gods, based off the Neil Gaiman novel of the same name,
American Gods.
American Gods.
American
We
Gods.
are going to be bringing you a hot and heavy kind of reactions review discussion of each episode as it comes out weekly. We'll be filling in a bit. We'll be giving you our thoughts and opinions. One side of us is coming from the informed, well read, um, contextualized side,
Is
which
that
would be
is that?
myself.
Oh, I thought it was me.
Oh, well, yeah.
No, it's not. Don't be
No,
silly.
it's not. I mean, I've read the book. I said that's all I've done.
I haven't done
Um,
anything.
you haven't done anything, but you've seen the first episode
I have twice.
twice, and that's more than I have. I've only seen it once.
I'm
You see,
winning.
this is a thing you seem to be doing. So, right off the bat, from the virgin eyes of Martin,
Ooh,
what did you think? What did you make of that first episode?
confusing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
buckle up, boy.
It's confusing, and I've had to watch. Basically, I've watched it. I've watched it twice, as I said, to gain a bit more understanding. But I've also been watching some like background videos on the old YouTube of who the hell is who and what it all means.
Don't read up too much because there's some. I don't know. Yeah, I
Shall I
wouldn't. I
stay
wouldn't.
away? It gets exciting though, do you know? Because there's a hidden depth to it where you kind of have to know this information to be able
No,
to
no,
sort
no.
of see
I
what's going
find
on.
nah. Well, this is so there are characters that you know and are introduced to, and you start growing with and going on a journey with them. But then who they are and what they mean takes on a whole new meaning as the kind of the context and the thematic overarching uh, narrative elements come into
Right.
play later in the story. There's a lot going on. Um,
Should we quickly just explain the whole sort of concept? Do you know, for the people
so
that
it's
haven't seen it
basically, oh yeah, what the
or
book
read
is
it?
about is it's about a man called Shadow Moon,
Coolest
who's
name ever.
yeah, fucking badass.
Transformers went on that somewhere around that, didn't they? Around
Dark
him.
Side
Yeah,
Moon.
yeah, that's the same thing.
Isn't that just Pink Floyd?
Carry on.
Sure. He's released from prison. He's in prison. We don't know why at this point. I do. 4 days early or something like that, because it turns out, and this isn't a spoiler, this is the opening. His wife has died in a car crash. The details of how she died, in what circumstance, become more apparent as the show goes on. So he's released, and on his journey home, he encounters a enigmatic character named Mr. Wednesday, perfectly played by Ian McShane. Ian McShane's good in anything, right? But here, and especially when I have a kind of
Love.
I'm salivating over what I know he has to come, what his character becomes, and how he grows, and what relevance he has in the overarching
Okay, we'll save that until it happens.
narrative. Also, Shadow Moon's played by Ricky White, who I didn't realize, but apparently he Whittle, White,
He was in
White.
Hollyoaks.
That's it. He's in Hollyoaks.
And
Well, he was in
also
Holly.
the
I didn't.
100, if you ever saw that.
No, I never watched that. That looked super cheap.
It was terrible. He was like a
Yeah,
rebel thing.
a few people were into it, but he has got a kind of stoic, big presence, which is pretty much the only description you have of Shadow Moon in the books. In the books, he is described as someone like kind of dark and very, very tall. I always thought he was kind of a bit more Native American, but I think this guy plays him really well so far because he's big and brooding and stoic, but he's quite charismatic, and he's quite likable. He's quite a likable presence, which I think is important, so as not to make the character just a cipher, just a kind of. On the casting front, I think this show has already nailed it, and Emily Browning, who will be playing his deceased wife, and I don't want to say how she will come into play later on the road, but I'll just say
I don't know whether she's coming back to life or she's
all I'll say is
history.
It's not just flashbacks, because flashbacks are shit.
Yeah.
We've got people like Crispin Glover in the cast, Peter Stormare, who is Peter Stormare. I know who he's playing, and he plays a dark character. And it's just good to see Peter Stormare in anything. Gillian Anderson's going to be in it.
Mrs. Anderson.
Yeah, sure, Mrs. Yeah. You've got a lot of interesting people that I think are going to round out the cast nicely as it goes on. And this is another thing I want to talk about. It's clear, like, first thing you notice is that they're putting the money front and center. It's it's got a hell of a cast. It's really glossy, well produced. It's got already an expansive scale and a feel to it, which is necessary once you know where the plot goes. And as I was saying, so he's released from prison. He meets this character, Mr. Wednesday, who hires him through some circumstance or another to be a kind of companion on a trip, a kind of road trip across America that is apparently holds some form of great theological importance. For some reason, this journey is to prevent some form of war. And then to give you a bit of a brief into what is to come, we've got a kind of theological and literal war coming between the old gods, because the concept for the book is America is a land of immigrants and people who have brought in different cultures, ancient and religious cultures and creeds and beliefs.
The creed?
All creeds, as in,
the creed. Big purple.
The creed, sure. They brought in the creed. Marvel is we can't have one sitting where we don't talk about Marvel. But in this case, these people who bring over their culture to this like new land, they literally bring their gods with them, who are everything from the sun god of Egypt, Ra, and to the Norse gods like Odin and Loki, and to the Hindu gods of old and things like this. These are literal gods that need worship and belief. So there are actual living gods that have been brought with their people to America. There are also the gods we've created, more kind of new age gods, like the way we all hold the internet, the technology, or the internet, or fast food. Things like these are kind of modern gods, modern temples in a way, which is a fascinating concept. And there is the kind of propulsive thrust of the novel is that there is going to be a war between the old gods and the new gods, and Shadow is kind of on a path heading between these two, and
he's in an orbit, would you say?
Well, no, I don't want to say. I wouldn't say that. But he has a part to play, and it all has a kind of significance, and and it's very, very exciting to see it up on a screen, especially done like this with such a kind of sheen. And I from that super stylized opening, bloody,
it's so bloody,
almost like this is what you're getting yourself in for. Like, know where this is going, because it goes to some dark places, and we are going to be talking about each episode in kind of spoiler details, but we won't go beyond the episode that has been shown this week. So there's a woman who, again, I don't want to give too much away to the context of what that will mean, but there's a woman who seems like she may be they've met on the internet, which is an interesting thing. In the book, she's a cool girl. She's a prostitute.
Hello.
But this is a woman who's met on the internet, met with a man who's the dad from Eight Simple Rules, and isn't he the dad from?
Does he play the same character?
Yeah, it's all one big thing.
It's the
Or
universe.
Or is he the guy who plays the dad in Scrubs?
Anyway, it's an old white guy. No,
Yeah.
he's not in Scrubs.
No, who is? Well, then who am I thinking he is? Who
I
do
don't know. Harry Potter's
This
dad.
not going to be engaging. Point is, she then
yes.
consumes him while begging him to worship her as they're noodling. She is saying to worship her, to worship every inch of her, in what at first seems sexual and then becomes cannibalistic, and she literally consumes him from the vagina.
And like you mentioned this to me before I watched it, and I imagined like teeth, sort of vagina, like munching away. But it's weird. It's either he goes tiny or she grows. I couldn't quite work it out.
Yeah, I think she kind of grows.
And I think it's really interesting because it is the first sign of like them introducing a god in a way that, you know, you worship and she sees rewards from it, of that worship. Up until that, it is very vague on, you don't know what's going on, like only if you sort of know the sort of Norse like history of like who Mr. Wednesday is, kind of thing.
Oh, you've ruined that for yourself.
Yeah, well, that's what I searched about, and
you are
because
an idiot.
Right, let me explain. Because the opening scene is very like, well, what's going on? It's very vague about the God of War, and like if you don't know any of that stuff, then like for me, I was like, I don't know what's going on.
There are other characters that you've already met that you don't realise have significance, and there's Irish gods and stuff like that. It's all like from Celtic mythology. These are all things you will learn more about. But well, I hope you haven't read too much. But
well, I'm going to stop now. I won't do any of that digging in, finding out what's going on. I'm going to go episode by episode and see how I think can understand it.
It'll be funner to just mull it over ourselves. But yeah, it's the opening beach battle sequence. It's Brian Fuller who's the showrunner, who was the showrunner for Hannibal, which I'm watching at the moment, and he likes his kind of like glossy gore. He's a big fan of that, and these big splashing buckets of claret as blood. It's definitely got its own style, and the guy who gets eaten by the vagina I was thinking of is the guy from God Bless America. That's where I've seen him. What's his name? Bobcat Goldthwait film. Anyway, that's why he has a face that I recognise. And
man has face, gets eaten.
Man has face. I recognise it. Yeah. So, where do you think it's going to go?
I have no idea, to be fair. It's obviously, it builds up. Obviously, we're talking about the episode. It ends with the introduction of, I assume, Mr. Technology, one of the new gods.
Well, not quite, but yeah, you're on the bright lines. And they really go all out on the kind of wacko conceptualization of this god and his
his abilities, and yeah, it's well
weird.
up there. And that, I suppose, when I sort of, you get a sense of like who this Mr. Wednesday is, and then it sort of really hits when obviously Mr. Technology, I'm going to call him, when he wants to know what Mr. Wednesday's up to. He's worried. He wants to know what the plan is, because obviously Shadow started working for him. He wants to know what is next. What's he up to? And sort of shows his power, his ability to just be like, well, your life doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to say too much, but what do you think of the show's execution? Do you think it's kind of like tonally? Do you think it's on the right? Do you think it's going to capture an audience? Do you think
it's difficult because obviously the first thing I thought about it was, damn, that was confusing. If every episode's like that, then no one's going to care. Unless it's one of those shows very similar to Westworld, where that was quite confusing, and it takes sort of looking into some fan theories, looking at like sort of the history of it all to understand exactly what's going on, and that's quite, for me, that's a really interesting thing about like shows now, is there is that sort of back information where you can go away, spend hours sort of looking into it, researching it to know sort of what's going on, and it makes the whole experience more enjoyable. I feel like it's going to be one of those shows. Well, that's the first thing I did was go, what the hell is that? Who's Mr. Wednesday? And look at like the history of the old gods. You know, you just go on YouTube and it's there sitting to watch.
Yeah, I do think it may be a grower.
Yes.
For people. I also think, maybe with it being so kind of oddball and bizarre, and I promise you, it doesn't get much more straightforward. I'd say because the kind of how the narrative takes you is deliberately it pulls the rug out from under you a few times, and then you'll start to kind of get a pace up, and it will have a bit more of a linear track for you to follow, and something will happen and it will kind of mix it up. And then once you get to the end, and this series isn't going to take you to the end of the book. I think it's going to probably take you about maybe a third of the way. Right. But they have quite a lot of plans for the scale of the TV show. So, we'll see where they choose to end it. But by the end of the book, it is a batshit and then some, but in a really exciting and, I don't know, metaphysical way. If they go full out and kind of commit to the source material, it will be by the end a TV show like no other. Like you will have not have seen this level of kind of, it's a book, it's a story like no other. Like even trying to describe it about, it's a road movie. It's a road story about, a passage through America, but then there's these old gods and new gods, and there's going to be a war, and it's like you don't. What can you relate it to? Which is, possibly alienating to some people.
Well, yeah,
but yeah, of course. But if you like stuff that's grand and dark and bloody, and it's bloody. It's bloody.
And the first episode, it doesn't hold back. It's not afraid to say, "This is what we're gonna be. This is what's coming."
Yeah. I think that's quite deliberate as well.
It's capturing you straight away. It's like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, I always think it's one of those ones that maybe if they'd done the kind of the Netflix thing, just put like all 8 or 10 episodes up. You'd either be like, oh, not for me, or you'd be like, shit, yeah, what? Give me another one. What is this strange beast?
And you'd keep going. You would keep going all night.
Yeah,
what just happened?
Yeah, I've seen it as well, and it's I know why it happens, but I'm still fascinated to see the next one. I'm really excited for the next one because I'm like, I want to see that narrative and that imagery and those themes put on screen with this kind of level of production, because it does, it looks the part. The acting's real good. Also, they've got a hell of a lot of the directors of just individual episodes are like really fucking good. They've got David Slade, who's the guy who did he did the best Twilight film, the third one, which I'm a big fan of. But he also did like proper horror films, like 30 Days of Night, the Josh Hartnett vampire film in Alaska, where the sun goes down for 30 days and the vampires basically see this as a feeding frenzy, and it's an absolutely, again, super bloody, really, really fun vampire film. And he's one of the kind of lead directors on it. He's directing at least like 3 episodes. So I'm kind of excited because he hasn't made a film a feature film since that Twilight, which was, at least 5 years ago. I don't know when that was happening. So it's good to see him doing some good work. It's got Adam Kane, who's an amazing director who did some work on Daredevil, but he's the guy who's done some films like I don't know if anyone's seen.
Harry Potter?
No.
Maybe it's that film with that guy's face in it that you can't remember.
No, it's not. That's Bobcat
Quality
Goldthwait
stuff.
thing. Well, he's more of a TV guy, this guy,
Yes.
but he directed a lot of Hannibal and stuff like that. Pushing Daisies, which was another show which was cancelled, which was run by Brian Fuller, the guy who's doing this one. And then they've got, I think he's only done one episode, which whatever it is, I want to see it, by this guy called Vincenzo Natali. He's a horror director who did Splice, which I fucking love, and Cube, which is one of the most weird and edgy horror films of the 90s, like psychological horror films. And he's a really, really cool, really interesting director. And it's just, well, for me, it's really exciting that he's directed an episode of American Gods. They've got the talent behind it, which I think just means every episode's going to have its own flavor. I think it's not going to be a long series, but every episode will be striking in its own right.
How many episodes are coming?
I can't remember. I thought it was only 8 or 10. I can't.
Just keeping them short, keeping them full of quality.
Yeah, and I think that will mean that they can really go all out on each episode.
Which is what you want. It's not. So it's becoming the norm now to not have these 23 episodes a season. It's keep it short, keep it snappy. 8 episodes full of quality material, quality acting. Power your money into those short episodes, and I like it. Even though you have got to wait for the next season a lot longer.
Yeah, that's true. It's going to be at least, I don't know. When are we going to see another series of Preacher? I don't think it's going to be this year. That's a bit of a long wait. Maybe it will. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm definitely hot for this, and I don't think that's just from the goodwill that I've got on American God's side from being a massive fan of the novel. But I think it looks the part. It's got a hell of a cast. It's got good directors, good talent behind it. It's got a style. It's got a vision, and I'm excited to see this story done to this scale and this quality. I think it's going to be big. I think it's going to be super exciting.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It's got a great potential. It has just got to capture that audience.
Yeah, we'll see, because I don't know. He's apparently, I haven't got there yet with Hannibal, but he has got the showrunner's got a talent for kind of getting a couple of series in and then getting his shows axed.
Yeah, I didn't watch season 2 of Hannibal.
Did you? See, I'm a few episodes in to the first series, and aside from Mads Mikkelsen playing Hannibal, which I could
Brilliant,
watch him.
yeah.
He's amazing and such perfect casting. I'm not sold on it yet.
Okay.
On Hannibal, it's not really doing anything for me. But I've had someone,
talk to you,
say it's really, really fucking good. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll give it a go. But yeah, we'll see. Essentially, we're going to be bringing you one of these every week for the next, 7-8 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 months.
That seems it. That's crazy. Seems quite short, doesn't it?
It does,
well,
but hopefully full of quality. Hopefully,
if it's 8 hours of that level of sheen and polish, that's like watching an 8-hour film. I'm up for that.
That's a long film, man.
Yeah, because it is that things like this do bridge the gap. Like the effects, the cinematography, it's of a filmic level, and they've got actors of incredible caliber and directors that match that. Fuck yeah, give me an 8-hour film with that.
We will.
Yeah.
When it's all out.
So keep an eye on us. We'll be bringing these every week after the episodes air on Monday of each week. We will be posting these as its own special podcast on our iTunes or wherever you choose to get podcasts,
Podcast.
on our YouTube as its own little vid, curated and bannered by Martin, doing a lovely job at the moment.
Hello.
We will also be putting them on our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the social media. So get us on there as well, because it's nice.
Get liking us.
Get
And get watching the show. Watch it with us.
Yeah. That would be cool to have a bit of interaction, a bit of feedback.
Over the social medias. Do it. Send us a message. Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, whatever it is, because if it is one, it'll be the only one. We'll
read it out and we'll discuss it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we will. Hell yeah, we will.
So be the first one.
Yeah, be the first. Be a pioneer.
And of course, that's all at OK Squirrel.
Is it?
Searches. OK Squirrel, yeah. We're just the OK Squirrels.
That's still our name, is it?
Yeah, we're sticking with it.
Sweet.
Sweet, I know. All right.
Signing off.
Bye.